right, guys. Thank you for whoever is joining us right now, watching us live on Instagram. A lot of things are happening in multi marketing at the moment, but I'm going to get to that a little later on in a separate video. This video specifically, it is, I would say, a special crossover. For those of you who have been living under a rock who don't know, my name is Noshad Khan. I'm the director of multi marketing. I am also go by a different name, the name of Nashville. That's on my second business interest, where I am the founder and CEO of PWC, Pro Wrestling Central. It is another venture of mine that I started with a few friends of mine. In totality, there's about 15 of us in a group. However, there's only 4 of us that at the moment are on camera. We're looking to get a few more on in the future. The 4 that you would see on camera would be myself as Nashville, Jeremy Rahman, Kamal Ambrishapal, and this guy right here, Sumeet. He has been on almost all of our videos. He is one of the, I would say, recurring members of our staff. He's like one of the main cast members of Pro Wrestling Central. So welcome, Sumeet. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing this morning?
Well, I'm fine, but with that introduction, you're making me sound like an itch that you can't get rid of.
Well, for those of you who watch our videos over on YouTube and TikTok at Pro Wrestling Central, you know Sumeet as the kung fu master when it comes to his mouth. He's always running at the mouth like verbal diarrhea, like a certain former chairman of a board of a company that now is owned by a holding company called TKO or Endeavor. But before we get into that, Sumeet, just introduce yourself to everyone who's watching you for the first time ever right here on Multi Marketing.
Well, my name is Sumeet Sitaram. If anybody else knows, I also go by Facebook Jail Veteran because I'm always getting banned off social media. So basically, I am one of the admins in Pro Wrestling Central, and wrestling is actually a passion. I won't say it's a hobby. I would say it's a passion for us, especially in that group. Whether you participate or you don't participate, as long as you read, you understand, you can communicate, that's all that matters. But as long as you have that passion for pro wrestling, and I'm not talking about wrestling being company based, like for example, AEW or WWE or New Japan or MLW or GCW, which some promotions most may not even be aware of. So because we only know of the televised the televised companies, that's AEW and WWE. New Japan, you'll only get as pro references. So most people won't actually, or they haven't actually watched a Japanese wrestling match. Like I remember, I watched a Japanese death match once with Mick Foley and Terry Funk. Mick Foley was in wrestling in Japan at this time, and he had a Japanese death match. One of the best match. Why it one of the best matches. If anybody hasn't seen a death match before, if you don't know about a Japanese death match or a Texas death match, just go on YouTube and stream it. So basically, I would say, being an admin of a pro wrestling group, your knowledge about wrestling has to be somewhat above everyone else. So it's like when people are having a conversation, you need to also be part of that conversation in a way that the the majority may not be knowledgeable about. And when it comes to me, and as Noshad said, I'm a kung fu master with my mouth. When it comes to wrestling, well, that's part of, well, my mouth is part of the reason why I get banned from social media part most of the time. But this passion of wrestling, where did it stay? Where did it stem from? So in 1996, I watched uh, WWF WrestleMania at a family friend's house. And the match that was on at the time, or the first wrestling match that I ever watched, was Undertaker versus Psycho Sid. And I remember that match because Bret Hart interfered in that match, which cost Psycho Sid the match, where Undertaker beat Psycho Sid. And if anybody knows, at that part of the time, there was no DSTV. You only had a decoder where you could get open time, where you could get Mnet, and then there was a channel 6. If I'm not mistaken, I think Mnet was on channel 7 and CSN was channel 6.
No idea.
But
Never owned one.
but wrestling was on CSN. Wrestling was on CSN right until 2001. No, I'm wrong. It was on CSN right until 99. As soon as DSTV came out, then it started streaming on Supersport. So now I'm talking about an era where we had the likes of Undertaker and Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, Triple H, and at this time, Stone Cold Steve Austin wasn't Stone Cold Steve Austin, he was a ringmaster. He only became Stone Cold Steve Austin after he won the King of the Ring and he beat Jake the Snake. And he gave that speech about Austin 3:16, just said that I whooped your ass. So this is the era that I'm talking about. And then after that period, from 1997, we had the Attitude Era, which according to my father, to my dad, and in certain aspects, I would slightly agree with him on this. The best era of wrestling was the Attitude Era. It was entertaining AF. I can't say the proper thing, but because, you know, it was entertaining AF. But what I can tell you was, when ETV first came out, right, you had WCW Nitro airing on ETV, and CSN had WWF. That gave us the time and the chance for watching the Monday Night Wars play out. It might have been on a different day, right? It might have been on different days, but the content remained the same, if you understand what I'm saying. So that's how the passion of wrestling came. I mean, like, if you ask anybody, we are still wrestling fans, even though wrestling went through a slump. And I think this is from 2016, 2017, 2018, 2019 into COVID. Wrestling went through a slump, and especially WWE went through a slump. And WWE only came back on the map when Triple H took over. And I think at that point in time, Vince had to give it up because he was too long in the tooth to compete with what AEW was producing. Because when Kenny, Hangman, Cody, and the Bucks, when they left New Japan and they opened the AEW with Tony Khan, it was said that they are not a competitor, but they are an alternative. But in being an alternative and with the slump that WWE was in, it made AEW the official competition to WWE. So in that aspect, Triple H came in, has his moment, and trust me, he's taking wrestling to new heights. And he called us the golden era of wrestling. Yeah, I can't disagree.
Okay. So before we go any further with the interview, let's address the elephant in the room. And we as wrestling fans, and I think it's apt to bring it up on a mainstream platform like multi-marketing, where there may be some wrestling fans, some closet wrestling fans, some wrestling fans who watch it as casuals, or maybe some people who don't watch wrestling at all, some people who don't like wrestling, who think it's a violent, that encourages violence. Or then the common one that we as wrestling fans always get is, do you know it's fake, right? Why would you watch something so fake? And my answer is, you watch movies, right? You know they're fake too, right? So let's address the elephant in the room. To those who don't watch wrestling or don't like wrestling or come up to us always and say, oh, you know it's fake, right? Why would you watch such fake and phony stuff? It's not even real fighting. Well, rather watch MMA or boxing. Like, why'd you watch something so fake? To those who don't understand wrestling, don't like wrestling, what would you as a wrestling fan on a mainstream platform such as this say to those fans who are like, it's fake, or I don't get it. It's, why do you guys even watch this stuff?
Well, let me put it to you this way. In mainstream media, wrestling, especially WWE, had this moment where they were being criticized by somebody who maybe some know, most know, or most people will know, but they'll be afraid to admit it, right? We all know Mia Khalifa. Well, I know you're going to edit this out, but somebody who takes a pounding elsewhere, but then in the ring it's something else. But we all know who Mia Khalifa is. And her words were, she does not consider WWE to be a sport, or professional wrestling to be a sport, because she do not consider pro wrestlers to be athletes. Right. Now, for somebody who knows a lot about ground and pound, no, she's wrong. Wrestling is meant to be entertainment, number one. But in providing that form of entertainment, professional wrestlers train to put their bodies on the line to provide entertainment for us. Whether you like them or hate them, you have to respect the craft. If you think that wrestling is fake, okay, so I challenge you, make a video, stand on a structure 20 feet in the air and jump on four pallets with a cloth on it, and let's see how you feel afterwards.
That's a good answer. It's a very good answer. So if anyone feels it's fake, that's your answer right there. So then the other part of that is
Oh,
those
oh, oh,
who
oh,
know
oh,
it.
oh. Sorry to cut you off, but I never fully answered that one or addressed the question fully. You said
Right.
that people who feel that wrestling is violent.
Yeah.
Here's my answer to you. Grow a pair. Life is not a bed of roses. All roses has thorns on the stems. Deal with the thorns. Don't be sissies. The whole
What
world is violent.
what's
No
funny
shot,
is
no
what
shot, no shot. The thing is with me, in my employment, I work in a place where I deal or I used to deal with a lot of criminals on a daily basis. I know what the real world is like, right? The the sooner we choose to accept what the real world is like, then we won't be looking at entertainment as being violent,
Mhm.
right? And another thing is, if somebody was mollycoddled as a child, you're telling me that they need to be mollycoddled as an adult as well. I'm very sorry. If anybody thinks that wrestling is violent, look at life. Life is violent. It's not a damn bed of roses. Grow a pair, move on.
You know what's funny is the moment you said grow pair, I was watching our viewership count and two people left just as you said that. That's it. So guys, that's an example of who Sumeet is. This is what you sign up for when you watch our videos on Pro Wrestling Central. This is the but the other question I was gonna ask you is the other side of that. Those who don't understand wrestling, like the ones who know it's fake, but they don't understand why we watch it. And I'm going to bring this back to the question I asked earlier when you mentioned how WWE in particular went through a slump period. What kept you hooked as a fan? And what can you say to those fans who don't understand why we watch wrestling?
You ever heard the saying, it's better to try and fail, but never fail to try?
Mhm.
So think about it like this, right? I'm sure we all did maths. So
Mhm.
we know even geography. We know about gradients and slopes.
I did Steiner maths.
Yeah, I don't know. I know that part. What was it? 33 and a third
The
percent
30%
chance.
chance of winning.
Right. So whenever you're going on a trajectory where there is only up, right? Gravity tells us that whatever goes up must come down, right?
Right.
So that's what happened to wrestling. It was on and up, and it was on and up because of the talent that was there. Now, when the talent that was there started to leave and retire because they were getting old, so I think that's one of the reasons they were getting old, they were getting injured, and the talent, the old talent that was there from the Attitude Era was starting to leave, right? Now, in that instance, when that happens, you go through a rebuilding phase. There, the point of gravity comes into it. When you are up, gravity will bring you down. That, that's what happened to this there in the slump. It was a rebuilding phase. However, it was a rebuilding phase under the wrong leadership.
Right.
And that became clearly evident when AEW AEW came out in 2019, and we saw that WWE's best chance of competing with AEW was NXT Black and Gold. Because NXT Black and Gold under Triple H and William Regal, trust me, they were doing things. They were doing things that Vince would not have allowed on Raw and SmackDown. So in that instance, yes, there was a slump, but it was a rebuilding phase under the wrong leadership. Then when Vince got ousted from WWE, Triple H took hold of the reins. And what happened? WWE started to boom. And all the talent, that was how I would put it, as mediocre when Vince was in charge, now had a sudden boom. And I think Paul Heyman alluded to this in his Hall of Fame speech last year, where he said he considers himself to be a Triple H guy because Triple H took hold of that pencil and he ran with it. And now the entire WWE is on a boom because of Triple H. Now, if anybody has to tell me, or they don't understand, or they'll ask this question, what do you get from watching wrestling because it's entertainment? Dude, open your mind. You pay so much to buy a movie ticket to go and watch a fairy tale story that will never come true, but you're judging me for watching professional wrestling. So I don't care what anybody has to say. You go to Sturkinico, you go to New Metro, you're paying so much, you're paying money for a movie ticket, right? To watch actors portray roles that is just there for entertainment, right? WWE is doing the same thing. Because Triple H is not Triple H, is actually Paul Levesque. Shawn Michaels is not Shawn Michaels, he's Michael Higginbottom. Undertaker is not a graveyard or a cowboy undertaker. No, he is Mark Calloway. Kane is not Kane or not some demonic monster. No, he is Glenn Jacobs, mayor of Notts County. Well, John Cena is John Cena. You just can't see him. The Rock, right? I'm not sure whether Rock keeps on mentioning Fruity Pebbles in his promos because, you know, because of his name Rock and Pebble, kind of the association is there. Maybe that's why, but he's not actually a rock. He's not a landmass. He's just plain old Dwayne Johnson. And in some instances, with John Cena's promos against him, his promos went straight down the drain. And another thing, you had in one Royal Rumble, the three faces of Mick Foley: Mankind, Dude Love, and Cactus Jack. And then with some people who never understood that Mick Foley didn't look like a Hulk Hogan, but his wrestling mind was brilliant. Mick Foley had three personas. It's not that he's Mick Foley with three brothers. So it is entertainment. Enjoy the ride. You're getting these people taking you on a ride. look at the scenery out the car window and enjoy the ride. But but sit with an open mind, not a closed mind.
Exactly. Like Rock said last year during our favorite WrestleMania season, shut your mouth and enjoy the ride that The Rock is taking you on. So let's get to what this interview is actually about. So we've spoken about wrestling. We've given people an idea of what pro wrestling is. We've explained to people who don't understand it what it is. Now let's talk about Pro Wrestling Central. We have been running Pro Wrestling Central since, I believe, 2017 when I founded it. It started off as just a WhatsApp group, and it grew in about 2021 when I launched the YouTube channel, eventually the TikTok, the Instagram. The Facebook channel has been running since 2017, since the WhatsApp group started.
Well,
So it's been a long time coming.
well,
And
our dear old, and I'm going to fire some shots here. Our dear old legal bald eagle, our ramen noodle, he only invited me onto the wrestling group in 2021 or 2022, and this is how it all started. So Jeremy and I actually belonged to a lot of social groups on Facebook, right? And you can blur this part. One of those groups was called
Spice.
I think you was also on this group. I think it was called Spicy Mothers.
Yeah.
Yes. And then the group actually got Facebook banned us because of the content. But
yeah,
Jeremy and I started off on this group. We used to talk on that group, and there were a lot of times where if he posted wrestling stuff or if you posted wrestling stuff, I used to comment on it.
Yeah.
And I think Jeremy sent me a DM afterwards, and he told me, look, I belong to a wrestling group. One of my friends on this Spicy Mothers group is the creator of the group. Let me talk to him and see if I can add you on. If he can add you on, just give me your number. And from there, Jeremy and I started talking on WhatsApp. You and I started talking on WhatsApp. I started talking with Kamal. I started talking with Amo, and a lot of others. Even Vas. Vas doesn't know me from a bar of soap. But I can tell you this now. If I go out to a Greek or Mediterranean restaurant, right, and I don't know what the hell is cutting with that menu, if I take pictures of the menu and send it to Vas, immediately, not even 10 minutes, Vas will send me a message back. Stay away from this. This is good. That's good. That's good. This you might not like. You know, that's how it's become. And then you added me on to the pro wrestling group, and then it's been heaven ever since. But along the way, I couldn't comment and I couldn't join Facebook Lives because I've been sitting in Facebook jail for most of the time.
Yeah.
So Pro Wrestling Central basically, and that's how I got onto it. So basically what Pro Wrestling Central is, it's a group of individuals, right? It's a group of individuals that has come together to share their love of pro wrestling in whatever shape or form. Like, I know I added Jesse on. And Jesse is more New Japan than AEW or WWE. And I think he spoke to you about that as well. So you know, and you also New Japan. So you'll have that in common.
Right.
I added my brother on because he also has this passion for wrestling. Like, I mean, during last year's WrestleMania and the WrestleMania before, with this whole bloodline saga and the Rhodes family, I mean, he was hooked onto it. Even my father was hooked, and I haven't seen my father watching wrestling or been hooked onto a storyline as much as he was with the bloodline in recent years. I mean, the last time you could see him watching wrestling was during the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era, right? And that's what it is. Like, you got Jeremy, and even like in Pro Wrestling Central, we don't only talk about wrestling sometimes. Sometimes we branch off into MMA. We even branch off into soccer, into football at some stages of our conversations. But when it comes to combat sports, but pro wrestling in general, because not everybody knows about cage fighting or mixed martial arts. But with wrestling in general, that's 15 or 16 of us that's there.
Yeah.
You know, we we all came together and we are on that group because we love the sport. We appreciate the sport and we appreciate what those athletes go through just to keep us entertained. The least we could do, the least we could do is give recognition to them for doing that.
So now that we've explained what Pro Wrestling Central is, where can viewers find you guys, and why should someone tune in to watch Pro Wrestling Central? What makes Pro Wrestling Central special in that you would want viewers to watch the content that we produce on platforms such as YouTube and TikTok and Facebook and Instagram as
Look,
well?
look, when we do watch alongs or when we do lives, we don't only keep it within our socials group or between us admins. We always invite people to come on and join. If you have an opinion, view it. If you have something to say, voice it.
Yeah.
Be like CM Punk, the voice of the voiceless. And honestly, I believe that I am the voice of the voiceless because I say and do things that will get anybody banned or kicked out of any company.
It's true.
But at the end of the day, if anybody watched our videos, they'll know. We try to make it as interesting and informative as possible. So in that instance, if somebody doesn't know about pro wrestling, go on Facebook, search Pro Wrestling Central. Go on Instagram, search Pro Wrestling Central. Go on YouTube, same name. Go on TikTok, same name. You'll always find us there. And even if there are lives that's being broadcasted, join. If you can send us a request to join the live, you'll be most welcome. Like in some groups, if you're not part of that social circle or that social group, they may not even entertain you on the live broadcast. But we are different because we will give you that that time. We will give you that recognition. And we may not be a particularly big group. We're still a group in a developmental stage where we're doing beta testing, alpha testing, and the works. But you got to give us credit for knowing what we know, because a lot of people sit there with blinders on. And when I say that they're sitting there with blinders, I'm not trying to be, okay, I'm being disrespectful 50%. The other 50% is I'm trying to make you aware that you're missing out on so much. I mean, if you're a Star Wars fan, if you're a Marvel fan or a DC fan, try and look at wrestling in an objective way and a subjective way. If you look at it in a subjective way, look at it in the subject of, if this was Star Wars, or this was Marvel, or this was DC, how would I go about understanding it? Because if you can understand the dynamics and the parameters of the social structures between heroes and villains, and the body language, the verbal tones, and the mannerisms, the characteristics, the personalities of the characters there, then you won't have a problem transcending that into wrestling, because you'll always find a Darth Vader, you'll always find a Palpatine, you'll always find a Luke Skywalker or a Obi-Wan Kenobi, a Princess Leia, a Han Solo, not a Han Solo, Han Solo, or you'll always find a Tony Khan. You'll always find a Tony Khan or a Vince McMahon in Star Wars. Like if I had to say, if I had to find an alternative to Emperor Palpatine, I'll put Vince McMahon. Especially Vince McMahon during the corporate ministry, where he traumatized his entire family, and then he came out with this thing that it was him all along, just trying to get back at Austin. So that's exactly what it is. You can always find a Thanos. You can always find a Doomsday or a Darkseid. You can always find a Sinister Six if you're a Marvel fan and you know who the Sinister Six is. You can always find a Sinister Six in wrestling. You can always cross-brand the dynamic of a character. But in doing that, you need to have an open mind. Look out of the box. Think out of the box. View the world for what it is. If you're going to tell me wrestling is violent, the world is violent. People are dying. People are getting murdered. They're being assaulted. People are in hospital because they've been a victim of an attempted murder or an attempted hit and run. I mean, the world is violent, and my day job is that I work in a court. I work with people who commit the most serious and heinous of crimes, and when I worked in criminal court, I was a stenographer, which means that I used to sit and make sure that the cases that's being done is recorded without any glitches or without any problems. And when I'm sitting there and I'm doing my work, I am listening to all the stories. I'm listening to everything that these people did. And more or less, most of the time, they are there in front of me. And they are looking, staring, trying to burn a hole through me. And I don't allow that, because you look at me, I look at you. You give me a dirty look, I'll give you a dirty look. That's how I am. My job has made me such. Life has made me such. I accept the world for what it is. People can tell me that I'm a pessimist. I'm not a pessimist. I'm a realist. If a dog is a dog, call it a dog. Don't call it a cat.
Just like there's only two genders, male or female. Donald Trump said it best.
Yes, there is. You can't tell me honestly, you sitting there and you get a male that has male genitalia that now buys a dress, buys a wig, buys makeup, tries to make themselves look like a female and call themselves a woman. Uh, call them a ma'am. And you know what? John Bradshaw Layfield put it perfectly when the NWO came out and the Ascension ruined it. And John Bradshaw Layfield left the announce table and he said, using spikes and painting yourself green doesn't make you a frog more than it makes you anything like a legendary tag team. If you remember that segment.
Yeah. So, like Sumeet said, on Pro Wrestling Central, you get amazing content. One of our favorite types of content is our watch alongs, which we have on Instagram most of the time, sometimes on Facebook. We're working on trying to get onto TikTok once we reach the follower count that will allow us to have guests and do our watch alongs on that platform. But yeah, at the moment we do them on this platform of Instagram over on Pro Wrestling Central. You can find us anywhere on Instagram. And when there is most of the time a WWE live event that's taking place in places like Saudi Arabia or Australia or the United Kingdom, those time zones are more applicable with the South African time zones in that it falls within our prime time viewing. So it allows us to have watch alongs with not just us as admins, like he said, but also invite other people from the outside of Pro Wrestling Central's community. I mean, we even had guys from a brother promotion or a brother group called Geekish. There was a member by the name of Riley Alexander who joined us as well. We also have a guy who's also on Geekish, but also a member of Pro Wrestling Central by the name of Jude. He joins us as well from time to time. Yerushalayim, he also comes on. We call him Iru. He's also joining us. So we get a lot of people from different quarters who join us, who love and enjoy wrestling as much as we do. And when we're watching an event live, we have these watch-alongs on platforms such as Instagram, where we can talk with fellow wrestling fans who understand wrestling to a certain degree, just as we do, and react live to the matches, the results, the segments that they also have at time to time on these major premium live events or pay-per-views in the case of other promotions. And we all enjoy and we love watching these and reacting to it and enjoying it with our fellow wrestling fans. Sumeet, as a final question before we love and leave everyone here, what can people expect to come in the future of Pro Wrestling Central that will make people want to watch us? And what is your concluding remarks to everyone who's watching?
Okay, so what's coming in Pro Wrestling Central for the future? So basically, we're trying to grow the channel, and we're trying to grow the channel on an international level. And we do have followers that is internationally based. We got followers from India, we got followers from America, and from all over the world. But in order for us to promote Pro Wrestling Central, we need to grow all our platforms. And by doing that, we need the support of our local, our local people. We need our local lovers to help us in that endeavor. And who knows? Who knows? One day you might see Vas inviting us on Jumbo on someday, right? Or you might see see us getting a comment or a reaction from somebody famous who we talk about. You'll never know. Anything is possible. The whole main thing is we're trying to grow for the future, and we're trying to plan. I mean, by growing, we have a lot of ideas, right? We have a lot of ideas. In growing the channel, we can do so many things. We even talking about producing merch. We even talking about producing merch. So that's also something that we can look forward to.
And I think the merchandise is a big one, because if you go to www.shop.com or aewshop.com or even newjapanshop.com, you will find t-shirts, yes, but if you look at not just the price of the product, but the price of the shipping from those countries to South Africa, it is ridiculously expensive. In most cases, it's even more. The shipping is more than the actual product itself. So imagine locally produced Pro Wrestling Central merch, a shirt that you can wear as a wrestling fan. Doesn't matter if you're a WWE fan, AEW fan, New Japan, MLW, doesn't matter what you watch, but a shirt where you can showcase and display, yes, I'm a wrestling fan and I've got nothing to be ashamed of, because the guys of this channel, Pro Wrestling Central, love wrestling just as much as I do, and they're not shy to show it in public that, yeah, I'm a wrestling fan, so what? You know, doesn't matter what we watch as wrestling fans, as long as we watch wrestling fan. And you mentioned we might get a comment twice already. Pro Wrestling Central has been hit with a comment. One time it was from, I believe, Ethan Page, All Ego Ethan Page, a former TNA star, now WWE NXT star. In 2020, when we had our Pro Wrestling Central Awards, he was in a tag team with Josh Alexander, the Walking Weapon Josh Alexander. They were the North. They won the Tag Team of the Year award. And Ethan Page sent us a like and commented, thank you. We even had a comment from Dolph Ziggler once, now known as Nick Nemeth. He also dropped us a comment when we were talking about Money in the Bank, I believe, a few years ago. And we talked about how we enjoyed it so much. I believe it was a 2017 version where we had the first ever women's ladder match. Nick Nemeth, Dolph Ziggler at the time said, you're welcome. So we are getting traction, but if we can increase the traction and get more of our viewers, not just, it starts with local, yes, but internationally, we can grow Pro Wrestling Central so that all of you out there who are wrestling fans will not be shy to showcase yourself as a wrestling fan, because yes, we in South Africa, we also love wrestling and we watch wrestling. So like Sumeet said, follow Pro Wrestling Central on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel there. Follow them on TikTok. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook. We're on all the platforms. Comment on our videos. Watch our videos. Send us a like. Grow. And where you can, TikTok has an option to repost. Repost the video if it's something that interests you. Repost it, and we can grow our brand and our viewership into as big as it can be, so that all wrestling fans from South Africa and around the world can enjoy it just as much. So Sumit, thank you so much for joining us. I
To
don't know if you
sign off,
have anything last
to
to
sign
say.
off, well, I want to say this. I was privileged enough in 2003 to watch Brock Lesnar, Big Show, John Cena, Chris Benoit, Kurt Angle, and well, at that time he was Edge in a neck brace. Now he's Coop, but he needs a.
Oh,
I think he'll need a leg Coop. Yeah, he'll need a leg brace sooner. But I had the privilege of watching them live in Westridge Park Stadium, and I will forever be thankful that I had the opportunity of doing that. At least I can say I did that once in my life. You know, they haven't came down. I'm not sure when was the last time WWE came to South Africa.
I was at the 2011 and the 2013 show at the Westridge Park Stadium here in Durban.
Right.
I think they last came down in 2018. Yeah.
20?
18.
Oh, I don't know about that one, but
They didn't come
as
to
I'm saying,
Durban. Yeah.
well, as I'm saying, that was the last time I went for a show, but I went and I saw them. I saw a young Brock Lesnar. Chris Benoit is no longer with us. Edge is no longer with us because now he's cooped. He's cooped up. And just to tell, and just to, as a parting shot to everybody who who is watching, let me tell you what I mean by knowledgeable when it comes to pro wrestling. Bullet Club in New Japan started in 2013, 3rd May 2013. I only started watching them in 2015, 2016. And I started watching them from onward. I started with YouTube's clips. And then I went all the way back and I did research on Bullet Club right from the time they started. That is how I know that on GFW, Global Force Wrestling, right? Bullet Club in 2013 participated there. And the NWO, especially Kevin Nash, came out and they endorsed the Bullet Club. So Bullet Club is endorsed by the NWO. So when it comes to the Too Sweet, yes, it is endorsed by the OGs. So let me love you and leave you by saying this has been Too Sweet. So from my side, all I will say is goodbye and good night. Bang.
Goodbye and good night. Bang.